Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. If you haven't heard by now, Disney has a new CEO. Well, technically, it's an old CEO. So today, we need to discuss what in the world is going on with Disney and whether or not this is an opportunity, perhaps, to invest and build wealth for the future. So let's start with what happened yesterday. So I'm minding my own business. I'm watching the Chiefs and the Chargers. It was a fun game. Get a notification at like 8 or 9 p.m. that says, hey, Disney has a new CEO. Open up the application, or the notification rather, start reading and figure out that Bob Iger, the CEO from 2020, is now the new CEO, and it replaces Bob Chapek, who was the CEO from 2020 until now. And the question is, what just happened and why? And the reason why this is so puzzling is two reasons. Number one, how was this happening in the middle of a Sunday? How are you fired on your day off? Okay, that's number one. Number two, well, actually, even going back to number one, and the fact that this is kind of came out of the blue, even employees at Disney got an email and they were like, this has to be spam. This cannot be real because it happened so suddenly. That is the jarring part of this. The other part of this is the board of directors just renewed Bob Chapek's contract back in June. That was just 5 months ago. What happened between June and now where they now have to feel like, hey, we need to get rid of this guy? And for what reason? Now, there are some financial reasons and actually some political reasons that both we will cover here today. But here's the thing. Based on this news today, Disney stock jumped almost 10% and then came back down, is up about 5 or 6%, which, does ask us like, hey, could this be a solid investment? But also, I mean, look, what happened here, right? So when we talk about Bob Chapek, he started his role in February of 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. The man was dealt a very difficult hand, if we being honest, right? It is hard to take over that level, that size of a company when the majority of their revenue comes from the parks, which were closed. So the only card he had to play was Disney Plus, and he did play that card incredibly well. Like Disney Plus, prior to 2020, was not the household name that we know it today. They were adding up to like 10 million subscribers a month at one point. They surpassed the subscriber level of Netflix at one point, and Disney Plus was a household name. Like, y'all remember Hamilton, and it was streaming on Disney Plus, and that was like a worldwide event, right? So the thing here, though, is yes, that is probably the best thing that he did on his resume. However, even as great as that was, it still will not be profitable until 2024. Last I checked, it's still 2022. That's 2 years away. And in the most recent quarters and the most recent quarter and the earnings report that they put out, Disney lost $1.47 billion. That is not acceptable for those who have been investing in Disney for quite a while, or even those who were used to how Disney was performing in 2020 and in 2021. Now remember, 2021, I got rid of Disney and I said, look, I don't like the direction that things are going, because it reached its peak, I would say, in September or so of 2021 and then sharply fell. I got out in December and continued to fall. Again, the stock is down 38% minus today, but down 38% just this year alone. And if you kind of zoom back, go all the way back to February, it's down about 30%, February of 2020, down about 30% since he took over. So things have not gone well. There's one other thing I want to bring up from the financial side as to why this does raise an eyebrow and why they may have felt compelled to really take the man's job on a Sunday night. So here's the thing. What I'm going to look at, and we always do this, but looking at gross profit. Again, for those that may be new, gross profit is how much did you sell? How much did it cost? Okay. It takes basically the main drivers of revenue or cost, not, overhead and, office supplies and all that type of stuff, but the main things. So here's this. 2019, gross profit was $27.5 billion, 2019. Okay. Then we go over to 2020. Okay, and in 2020, it went down to $21.5 billion. So 27 billion, cool. You lose a little bit of money in 2020, you go down to 21 billion. Okay, understandable. Then we go to 2021. You go from 21 billion to 22 billion. Okay, great, went up just a bit. But then you go to 2022, and so far right now, and this number is from Yahoo Finance, gross profit, in case you want to follow along, is in September of 2022, $6.7 billion. 6.7. You went from 22 to 6. Okay, this is just gross profit. This is not all of the cost. This is that top line number. Basically, what'd you bring in minus like the main cost of stuff that you needed to produce to get here. That's a problem. Okay, you were pretty much averaging anywhere between 22 to $27 billion in gross profit, and then you shrink that all the way down to 6.7. That is an issue. Now, I can't necessarily compare this to Target in that, Target is also suffering from a similar problem in that you were used to getting a certain amount of income 2018, 2019, and then absolutely drops off. Disney is starting to see some of that. Now, part of it is the increased cost from inflation. Some of it is still travel patterns and people not going to the parks in the same way that they used to. Also, increased competition. Yes, Disney is moving into Disney Plus and trying to make that a thing. But Netflix is still out there, and HBO Max is still out there, and all these other streaming services where people have options. Just because you have Disney and you have most of my favorite stuff and some of the kids' favorite stuff doesn't mean that they have everything, and that does make things a lot more difficult for the company. So now that they have Bob Iger back, does it make sense to invest? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. And I've said this for a while now. Now, Bob Iger took over back in 2005. And if you go from 2005 to about 2018 or so, the stock really didn't move. Now, Disney wasn't losing a whole bunch of money, but the stock did not make a whole bunch of money for investors. It wasn't until 2019, 2020, and really half of 2021 where Disney Plus really came into the forefront, and the pandemic really helped Disney to take off. And that was it. Once that faded, the stock went right back to normal, which was pretty much not doing much of anything. Now, yes, Bob Iger has a history of turning the company around, I guess. I mean, investors definitely believed in him today, but I'm not necessarily sure if he's automatically going to be able to fix a lot of the stuff that's going on. Is he going to be able to fix the subscriber numbers? Honestly, I'd argue that you can't do much better than what they currently have. They're doing well on the subscriber front. The problem, however, is the cost. You would need the margin for what it costs to run Disney Plus and what we pay for it, $12.99, $6.99, whatever. It has to be much higher. And me and you and everybody around us, we're not paying more for everything else because we're already paying for more for gas prices, groceries, and everything else. So it's going to make it even more difficult for them to raise prices, to increase the margin, to make that bottom line better. If that's the only thing that they're paying Bob Iger to do is to raise prices, I don't know if that's going to cut it. I don't know how we're going to respond as consumers, but also if I could have figured that out in a 2 or 10 minute video, then what are they paying him $1 million for? Y'all could have paid me that, right? Just to fix that side of the issue. The other thing too that Disney is concerned about, especially the board of directors, is how the company was embarrassed, and these are their words, not mine, based on the whole political situation between the state of Florida, really the governor of Florida, and Disney. Disney is based in Florida, for those that don't know. There's a whole controversy about a bill down there that changes the way that education is taught down there, presumably. And essentially, they got into a disagreement, and the governor of Florida retracted a lot of the tax status from Disney, and investors as well as employees wanted Disney to be more forthright and to get out in front of that bill and really state their stance against that particular bill. If you want to go look into that bill, you go ahead. This is not a politics channel. Aside from all of that, though, it's not looking good. For me, I'm still not investing in Disney. Can Disney make money? Yes, it could, but I really think that's based on the hype of the old CEO coming back. But again, I go back to what happened with Disney between 2005 and about 2018. I don't think that the stock made that much money. Now I'm guessing here, but I'll put this on the screen and see exactly what that number is. But I'll actually pull it up on public real quick just because it's a lot faster for me. But you will likely be seeing this from Yahoo Finances. I'm looking at it right now. So the last 5 years, Disney is only up 1.6%. That's it. So if I'm taking out 2020 and just looking at what the company was doing before, which is primarily Bob Iger's reign, that doesn't tell me that much about the company, and that doesn't really excite me as an investor. Yeah, it popped today, but what about the underlying financials? Can he really change? I would love, if I were an investor, I'd love it to go back to that $22 billion gross profit. that'd be great. How are you gonna get there? Because you have to keep spending to keep Disney Plus competitive. So you can't just cut spending there and just hope that things get better. You can't necessarily cut staff. I mean, you can. It seems like Elon is doing that left and right. But you run a park service. You can't just cut people and expect people to do more work, especially as you're moving to the holiday season, which people do go to Disney over the holidays. And then summer's going to be right back around the corner, and you're going to get an influx of people. You don't want to be understaffed for that. How are you going to manage those costs and also bring in an exorbitant amount of money that you have to bring in to get this company back to where it should be? Is it possible? Yeah, it is. But for me, I think there are way better deals in the market that are more likely to succeed and more likely to make you more money. What are those? We covered a lot of them here, but also, I really need to go back over it. But insurance makes a lot of sense. Oil, if you're into that type of thing, is still doing quite well. There are a few financial companies, one that I cover inside the members only, that's doing quite well right now too. Healthcare is another space that's doing quite well that, I cannot guarantee. I can say it's a lot easier for them to continue making money than for Disney to make a complete U-turn. All right, so those are my thoughts on Disney. It's a no for me, dog. I love Marvel. I went and saw Black Panther. I want to go see it 2 more times because it was that good. My kids watching Kanto. I'm gonna still pay for Disney Plus and ESPN, but I can't put money in the stock. I cannot confidently put money in the stock and hope to win. That doesn't mean that it can't. I just think my chances of success are much higher in those other industries that we just mentioned. All right, if you want to learn more about how you can become a better investor and learn how to analyze stocks, just pretty much how I did today, and learn how to find out what industries to invest in, when to buy, when to sell, and all those things that most investors are looking to do, then you want to make sure that you join the members only. The link is right below this video. All right, that is it for me. I got other news to cover because a lot of stuff that happened over the last 48 hours. So I will talk to y'all tomorrow. If you have any questions, comments, anything else that you want to discuss, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I plan on putting a video out on Thursday. Thursday is Thanksgiving. The market is closed, but I'll probably pre-record something that we can talk about in advance because I'll be eating and sleeping. I like to eat and sleep. So that's what I'll be doing. All right, that is it for me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.